Happy Star Wars Day, everyone. May the 4th be with you. I just wanted to break down the process that we're going to do with reading The Breadwinner over the next little while. So I'm going to start on my assignments page, and I'm going to scroll down to today's. So we got my message for Star Wars Day today. May the 4th be with you. And here I've got some instructions about how we're going to start reading The Breadwinner. So there's a couple things here that I wanted to show you. First of all, I have a recording of me reading chapter 1 of The Breadwinner right on this page. So you would just click here to be able to hear me reading chapter 1. Every couple of days or so, I plan on posting a new chapter of The Breadwinner. So the second thing that I wanted to show you is that I have embedded Padlet right here on my website where people can respond to the chapters in The Breadwinner. And if you wanted to add something to the Padlet that's embedded right on here, you can, or you can go to this link and go to the Padlet on its own website. So I wanted to share with you what that looks like. So I'm going to share a screen that has that Padlet on it. So here's how you would share something about chapter 1. So it says right here, chapter 1, and it's on a timeline. So the posts will go in order. So if you want to post something about chapter 1, it says click on the plus sign between this and the box that says chapter 2. So here's the box that says chapter 2. So there's a plus sign right here. And if you want to post something about chapter 1, you can just click right here. And let's say that you had something to share about chapter 1. You can give it a title, and then you can write whatever it is that you want to share. And now that will appear after chapter 1 and after these instructions about posting something about chapter 1 and before chapter 2. So let's say in a few days you wanted to add something about chapter 2. So I am going to scroll along the bottom of the page until I get to the instructions for chapter 2. And this is the plus sign that I would click on to add some ideas about chapter 2. And so this is where you would add your thoughts about chapter 2. And now that is added right there after chapter 2, but before chapter 3. In the meantime, at the very end, after all the chapters, I stopped giving the instructions at about chapter 7, because hopefully everyone will have figured it out by then. If you wanted to add something about chapter 10, you click on this plus sign after chapter 10, before chapter 11. There are also places where you can add your thoughts about characters, the setting, the problem, events, the solution or resolution, how it ends up at the end, and the theme. So that is the Padlet that people can add to. And I also wanted to share with you briefly how you can read along at Epic Books for Kids. So I created an assignment in Epic Books for Kids, or an account, I should say, for my daughter. And so this is me in her account, and it's just at getepic.com. But if she wanted to find the book, The Breadwinner, she can just go up to the top and type in Breadwinner, and she's not looking for Breadwinner Trilogy or the graphic novel, but we're looking for the novel, The Breadwinner. And then when you get into it, you click on it, and you can then read just as I'm reading along, or I'm reading aloud. You can read along in this book. And if you want to turn the page, you just point at the right side of the page, and there's a little arrow that pops up, and now you can turn the page like so. So I'm now going to show you how to work in the Google Doc that's attached to the assignment in Google Classroom. So the idea is that this is a place for you to write some responses to the chapters in The Breadwinner as you're reading it. So it starts with a description of the literacy group rules. These are the same rules that we used when we were reading Refugee. So there's the discussion director role, the investigator role, vocabulary connector, illuminator, and summarizer. So I've got some instructions here for what you should do. So for each of the first 6 chapters, you're going to choose one of the roles described on the chart. And the idea is to choose a different role for each of the first 6 chapters so that you get some practice and experience doing each one of the roles. I've got some criteria here. So I'm looking for clear sentences. I would like for the things that you write to relate to the role or journal entry type that you choose for that chapter. So basically follow the instructions. And I would like for your writing to show that you understand what happened in the chapter. So you can mention things like the characters that were in that chapter, some of the things that happened in that chapter, and other story elements, like if there was a problem or if there was something that revealed the theme to you or something along those lines. So I'm going to use as an example, not the example I gave above, but I'm going to pick to do the investigator role for chapter 1. So I'm going to go up here to the highlight color, and I'm going to pick yellow and then highlight the investigator name. And then I will delete the other name descriptions so that it will show up as investigator. And so this is just, it's highlighted now and it says investigator. So for chapter 1, what I might want to do is do some investigation about the war in Afghanistan and what was happening at the time of this novel. So the situation with the Taliban and like where Afghanistan is in the world and things like that. So I might look at some maps to find out where Afghanistan is, and I might look at some websites online to find out about what was happening in Afghanistan at that time and what the situation was with girls not being able to go to school and things like that. And then I would just type out the things that I discover in my investigation about Afghanistan at that time. And then if I decide for chapter 2 to write a summary, I would then highlight the name summarizer and delete the rest of the things for chapter 2. And now it will be clear that for chapter 2, this is a summary. And then I would write my summary of what happened in chapter 2. What were the events that happened in chapter 2 and what happened to characters, what were characters doing, how were characters feeling, things like that. So once again, I'm trying to show that I really understand what's happening in that chapter and so on. Then I'm going to pick a different role. So just as an example, for chapter 3, maybe I want to be the vocabulary connector. So once again, I highlight that and delete the names of the other roles that I'm not doing for chapter 3, and then I would go through the role of vocabulary connector. And if I forget what the vocabulary connector is, I can go up here to these instructions and I can read that I'm looking for words that are interesting, new, important, or used in unusual ways. And then I will indicate where those words are in the text, maybe by writing the page number and or like the minute number if you're listening to me read it aloud. And then I would discuss how those words are used. And so on for the remaining 3 chapters out of the first 6. And then I've added some instructions that you can take and consider doing for the remaining chapter, or for the remaining journal entries for the remaining chapters. At the end, there's going to be a place where you can write about the story elements in terms of a summary of the whole story. But if you discover certain things like the setting, where and when it takes place, before you get to the end, you can scroll down to the end and add those things when you discover them. So that is the idea of what I'd like you to do with the Google Doc that I have added.